Hey there, John with Roses Craft, and today I'm going to be making some, I guess you could call them air skiffs. I have an airship for the D&D campaign I've been running at the Cat Cafe, and I'm going to be making some small airships that are going to be like air skiffs for the most part. And I'm going to make them out of these like wider popsicle sticks, a couple of Powerade caps, and some skewers. The skewers and wide popsicle sticks you can get at the dollar store. So this is a dollar store build. And recycling, it's just kind of a budget build. So let's get started. Alright, so starting off, I'm going to be prepping the thicker style of popsicle sticks. I'm going to be using these as the deck. So what I'm going to start with is cutting just the rounded edge off of one side of all of the popsicle sticks. Then once I finish that, I'm going to make one that I'm going to cut diagonally so that way I put two together and it'll make a point. So what I'm going to do is I'll have one and I'll use it as a template for the rest and chop all of them up to the same length so that way they each have a point. So next we're moving on to the mast, and for the mast I'm going to be using these marshmallow roasting sticks from the dollar store. You can get them there in the summer. They make great dowels. So I'm going to be using the scissors to chop them up. They are a light wood, so they're easy to cut even with scissors. So I'm going to cut them on an angle so that way they are angled backwards as a mast. The idea of angling them backwards is so they look like those windsurfing boards. Next, I'm going to be using regular size popsicle sticks to make a board that connects the two sections of the deck. So I'll be chopping them up to the same exact size. So I'll use one as a template and I'll just cut them all using it as a guide. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I'm making 5 of these. So I'm cutting enough accordingly. So if you're wondering why I'm cutting so much material, it's because I'm making 5 total. Now that everything's cut, I'm going to start gluing it all together. So I'm going to match up 2 sections of the deck, and I'll use one of the small boards I made out of the regular size popsicle sticks, and I'll glue all of the pieces together to make the deck part. So the trick with this is you don't want the glue to show, so just be very careful when you're using the gun to do a really thin line across where you want the little cross beam to go. So now I'm going to be making the propulsion system to make it look like they're being lifted off the ground. I'm going to be using Powerade caps to look like some sort of propulsion system, like either a magical magnetic field generator that pushes off of the ground, you know, whatever. Something that looks like it could be pushing down and letting the thing float. I drink a lot of Powerade, so I have quite a bit of these in my recycling bin, so I pulled a bunch of those out, and I like the Powerade caps better than soda caps because they're wider, and they're going to be sturdier so that way the miniatures don't fall over and fall off of the skiffs. So next, I'm going to be gluing the masts on. I'm going to be taking the skewers and I will put them in on an angle, and here I'm kind of trying to just hold it until it dries, but that kind of stinks. So what I eventually do is I'm going to put like a little pot of paint underneath to hold it up while it dries. So once those masts dry, I will rotate the pots of paint over to the ones that then need masts on it at that point in time. Now that they're all glued together, I'm going to hit them with the black spray paint and let them dry. While we're waiting for the paint to dry, I'm going to start on the sails. I'm going to be cutting the sails out of this orange felt. The good thing about felt is it keeps its shape really well, and it's already the color that I want it to be. You can choose any color you want. You can get these sheets from the craft aisle in Walmart and from the dollar store. So originally I was going to use some craft foam and then paint it, but what stinks with craft foam is you have to paint it. And I just wanted to be able to get these done in one night because I was playing D&D the next day and I really wanted these for an encounter. So I'm using felt. So now that these are dried and all black, I'm going to be using this makeup brush to dry brush on a bronze color. I've seen people do this to make a gunmetal, so I figured I would try it with the brass and it worked really well. What people usually do is they paint it black and then they will take a silver paint and dry brush that on and it'll look like gunmetal. And what I did here was the same exact thing, but I just used a goldish bronze and I dry brushed that on and it looks like aged brass and it came out great. I absolutely loved the way that it turned out, and it was really quick and the paint dried really fast as well because it was just a dry brushing. I could have gone a lot more fancy and done a proper paint job, but this looks good, it's table ready, and it was a lot quicker than sitting there and doing layers of paint. So now we're going to be finishing it up by gluing on the sails. We're going to be using the hot glue gun, and again I'm going for time on these. So I'm using the hot glue gun because it's going to dry really quickly and still be really strong. I could use a lot of other glues that would take longer to dry that would look better, but if you use the hot glue gun right and you are really careful that you don't use too much glue and you clean up a little bit here and there, you'll be fine. There are a few spots that the glue dripped a bit too much that you can see, but I kind of just clean that up with my finger and it's hard to see once it dries because it dries clear. But just like earlier, we're just going to use a small line of hot glue so it's not super visible. And voila! This was a really fun and really quick build. These were kind of a last minute thought, before I was going to a D&D night the next day, so I was up a little late the night before, but these really only took me an hour, and they were a huge hit at the D&D night with my players. If it's not clear, these are based off of Jim's Solar Surfer from Treasure Planet, and it made a great chase scene with the airship my party uses. They were a blast to use, and I'm sure I'll get more use out of them. Hey, so it's now after the fact of using these at my D&D night, and they went over great. My players loved them. We used them for a sky pirate encounter where there was the airship that my players were on. They were defending it against about 5 of these that were all coming up, and it was really fun. It really gave off some Treasure Planet vibes, like a really cool chase scene, and they could like knock the opposing players off of them. One of them stole one of these guys. It was a blast. My players loved it, and I loved running it. And building these was real easy. I used probably about $3 of dollar store supplies and literal trash I just had lying around. Took me a little over an hour, and they came out great, and my players loved them. So I definitely recommend this build to other people. If you want to see other builds like that, I got more on this channel. I have a TikTok and an Instagram you can check out too for shorter videos and pictures. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.